How's everyone doing today?
Great.
Good answers. Even if you lied, I still appreciate it. My name is Donnie. I come from the very far away and medieval land of Dallas, Texas.
And I'm Daniel. I come from the less far away but possibly still medieval Northwest Georgia.
And I'm Ash.
Say hi, Ash. Yeah!
They understood the assignment.
They understood. This is going to be a very easy crowd to work with. And we are the Appalachian Sword demo team. So what we're going to do for you is we're going to teach you a little bit about history, teach you a little bit about swords, then we're going to showcase some of the technique that we'll be talking about. But first, we've got to level set some things, because the truth is, a lot of people think medieval people were dumb. The Renaissance people were dumb. Truthfully, we look back at people from the past, and we tend to think they're dumb. They're stupid. They wore mud on their clothes all the time. And these are just kind of misconceptions that we have. We have a tendency of looking in the past and thinking, oh, look how much smarter we are. But the truth is, humans haven't changed that much in a very long time. A great example of this is if you read enough medieval history, you will eventually come to the conclusion medieval people drank urine. This is a true fact with an asterisk on it. Medieval doctors, very well paid one, sometimes drank urine. What they were doing was they were trying to, the medical practice at this time was the four humors. It was about balancing hot, dry, wet, and cold. And through this is how they understood the body. This is how they were doing it. So in some cases, to diagnose certain things, they would taste urine. Again, doctors, highly paid individuals. We're talking about specialized doctors for individual lords, knights, and everything like that. Now, what they might determine was your urine tastes a little too sweet. We need to cut out sweets from your diet. That will help you feel better. Now, what they called balancing the humors, we now call diabetes. They were accurately diagnosing diabetes with this practice at that time. Now, you and I both looked at each other and said, I don't want to drink urine. Urine does not sound like a fun thing to drink. And just like them, just like us, it didn't take them long to also realize they could burn urine to determine the same characteristics, so they didn't have to drink it. So, again, really smart decision making just based on the nature they had. They had the same problems you and I did, right? They're trying to diagnose diabetes. They're trying to make people feel better. There's other times where we come with misconceptions about them that they would look at us and say, are you stupid? Or maybe more accurately, doth think I'm a moron? For example, by the time of 800, it was universally understood the world was round. So much so that they even had calculations that was pretty close to what the circumference of the Earth was. So let's keep that into consideration, that even back then, they knew the world was round, and today we have people that question that fact. These are the types of people we were talking about, just like you and I. They had similar problems. They got hungry. They got cold. They would try to solve the problems with what they had. And something they were really concerned about at this time was the transfer of knowledge. They had an entire craft around it. They called it the craft of memory, or the Memoria. It was a practice on how to preserve knowledge. Now, this wasn't preserving knowledge in like a memorizing fact, right? Like we all know our ABCs because we've memorized them. No, these were concerned with being able to express and communicate ideas, to be able to practice these ideas. And they took it so seriously that they wrote books on how to write books, how to capture information at this time through works. So one of the best examples of this is Hugh of St. Victor. Around the 11th and 12th century, he would write manuscripts on how to teach with written work, with written manuscripts. They have traditions of oral history going back. This is around the time manuscripts and written language is starting to become much more prevalent. It's a tool that they can now utilize. One of his best works that he had was on Noah's Ark. And he didn't teach the manuscript about Noah's Ark. Instead, he wrote a manuscript about how to teach by using the example of Noah's Ark. He was writing for the clergy. He was writing for kind of that target audience. So he had a whole manuscript describing, this is why I put the ark on this part of the page. This is why I use numbers to communicate ideas. These manuscripts were used heavily throughout the manuscript culture and people producing these manuscripts because they were so concerned with passing on knowledge. We look at these things and we say, oh, well, it's old, it's backwards. But when we really get down to it, teaching mechanisms we still use today were used at that time. For example, back then they had what was called the Guidonian hand, and it was a way to teach music based on segments of the hand. Now, I am not a musician. I cannot teach you music. If you came here today for me to teach you music, you're gonna have a bad time. But what I can do is lead a really successful round of Sweet Caroline if I have enough beverages down in lovely Helen. Now, that being said, Sweet Caroline. Call and response, another exceptional way that even they knew could help communicate ideas. And some of the things they also wrote about was swordsmanship. And this is where we come in. We participate in what's called HEMA, Historical European Martial Arts. And what we do is we find old manuscripts, we'll translate them, and then we'll interpret the techniques of them. There are tons of manuscripts on a ton of different things talking about how to fight with swords, with other weapons in period. And one of the oldest ones we have is called 133. Now, that's not what they called it. That was a catalog number we assigned to it. And then we moved where it is in the library, and now it's called Spec 1, but no one calls it that, so we're going to call it 133. And what this manuscript covers is around 1300, and is the use of the sword and the buckler. Now, you might look at the buckler, and you say, that is a really puny shield. And you know what? You're 100% correct. It is a small, very puny shield. This is my personal carry shield. This is the shield I'm walking around the markets with, the ones I'm traveling with. If I'm going to battle and I have to worry about arrows and spears and horses, oh my, I'm not taking this, I'm taking a bigger shield. If I'm walking around a marketplace, this is a great pairing for the sword. Same ideas, same people, right? I want to protect myself. I want to casually walk through a market without bumping into a ton of things. Suddenly, we have bucklers. Even more so, around the world, different cultures, everyone at some time or another, recognize the value of personal carry shields. So one of our first manuscripts covers the use of this pairing, and it's written as a priest to a student. It features a priest and a student as the characters. Now, this gets us into the nature of this manuscript. It was written for the clergy. What we speculate, it was written by secular clergymen. So if you were going to a cathedral, functioning as an early university, you all would probably be learning things like math and science, and definitely learning the world is round at this time. Can't emphasize that point enough. If you are hearing this for the first time today, you are welcome. Now, they might also learn at these universities fencing, martial arts. It's their PE credit, just like we have today. So we have this manuscript written by secular clergy, and when I say secular clergy, what I mean is people who are under the jurisdiction of the church at this time while functioning in secular roles. So if you're the professor who is teaching about religious studies, you are probably in the ecclesiastical class. You're probably in the religious clergy side. If you're teaching a secular topic, like fencing, but you're hired and under the jurisdiction of the church, you would be part of the secular clergy. Same idea we have today. Now, 133 goes out of its way to talk about what common fencers are. And it says, all common fencers, whether they are trained in the art of sword and buckler, will use these 7 wards. Now, I want you to think about that for a moment, because when I talk about common fencers, what I mean is if I handed any of you a sword and buckler, and I said, congratulations, you've earned a sword and buckler and a 6-month tour in France, because I have pissed off somebody and I need you to clean up my mess for me. You might accurately say, like we would today, I don't want to die. I might want to learn how to use these weapons. So you might find your best friend. You might find someone who has gone on campaign before. Maybe someone who, maybe someone who likes swords. Maybe someone who talks a really big game about swords, but actually isn't very good with it. We still see that today. That's common fencing. Most people did not learn fencing from a cathedral, or from a manuscript, or from a fencing guild. When we start talking about those people, now we're starting to talk about the elitist, the ones who have time to study swordsmanship, the ones that want to focus on it. So 133, teaching for this clerical class, these university-esque students, we're talking elite systems, people who can train more regularly with the technique they have. Now the common fencers, who all of us are, whether we're trained in the art or not, will use these 7 wards. So in which case, show me first ward. Show me second ward. Show me third ward. Show me fourth ward. Show me fifth ward. Show me 6th ward. Show me 7th ward. Numerical positions. Again, written in a similar style to what Hugh of St. Victor talked about. We're talking about just numbered things. I can easily tell you a number, and you know what that ward is going to be. Now it says the common own the 7. The common fencers are exceptional at fighting with these wards. Can you all show me what fighting from these wards might look like? Marvelous, marvelous. Thank you, thank you. What are some things you noticed? Well, they kept their buckler in front of them. They said, I don't want to get hit. I'm going to keep the puny little shield in front of me as a means of protection. They also recognize their hands are precious. They do not want to lose their hands. If you did not know, you can win a sword fight by taking someone's hand. In fact, if I cry when I get paper cuts, I can only imagine what a sword might feel like. So a hit to the hand could end a fight. So because of that, these swords, they don't have a ton of hand protection. So we have to keep our hand back, keep it behind that buckler to keep us safe. Now, 133 continues. The common own the 7, and the clergy own the opposition. And the opposition is a designed technique for beating the common fencer. And what it utilizes is called binding. So can you both show long point for me in a bind? Binding is the contact of the swords together. Asterisks. It's a much more complex, nuanced thing for that, but for today we're going to call binding the connection of the swords. And what they are going to do is they want to get over their opponent's blade. They want to control their opponent's blade so they are free to attack. They're dealing with the threat so they can close. So go ahead and fight for the overbind. Let's see what the clerical system might look like. Marvelous, marvelous, very well done. It looks different. They're using the sword. Notice how both hands are extended forward, but they keep their hands close to each other so that the sword and the buckler can cover each other. Just leaving your hand out without the buckler can become a liability with these type of swords. So they keep the buckler close. The fight stays in front of them. They're not trying to stay fluid and trying to work on the angles. What they're fighting for is called the center line. And you can kind of visualize it as their nose to nose, belly button to belly button. Whoever controls the center line is controlling the fight. And they're trying to do this by also taking the overbind. Now, another thing they can do is use footwork to change where this is coming. But ultimately, the common fight can kind of turn into whoever's strongest or fastest or better looking will win. And truth be told, I've never lost a fight on the last category. I've lost a ton of fights on the other two. Technique is where we start to deal with how do we beat people who are better than us, who are more physically exceptional than us. Go back into long point for me. Now, Daniel, go to the strong of Ash's blade. Try to bully Ash as much as you can. Just can't do it. Now, truth be told, Ash has done more push-ups than Daniel in general. I'm just going to tell you now, Ash is the strongest one here. But for the demo, let's pretend like she isn't. There's nothing Daniel can do to break through that guard. However, going back into long point, if Daniel works on the weak of her blade, the farthest point of her blade, go ahead, there's nothing she can do. Swords function as levers. The further the point is away from me, the less force that's required to control it. They understood this principle as well. Levers were a very well and understood thing by this time. So they are using math and science to win a sword fight. They are saying, I know I'm better looking than Daniel, but I'm not as fast as him, but it doesn't matter because I can control the blade as I need to. This is where technique comes in. This is where these trained systems that we have written down in books ultimately like to live in. It's how do you win with any opponent. Better looking, stronger, faster, doesn't matter. This is where technique exists. Now, truth be told, Hina looks through martial combat through a straw lens. As I mentioned, most people learn sword fighting from a friend, from a neighbor, from practicing against a tree because they had no friends because they were ugly. That's how most people learn sword fighting. So when we talk about HEMA, and we talk about these sources, these written sources, and where they come from, we are talking about an elite class of sword fighters by nature, people who regularly train with it. And with that, Daniel and I are going to suit up so we can show you some of this technique, while Ash tells you a little bit about shoes.
No, shoes are really important. So part of what we do, yes, we come out, we have some really cool outfits on. Part of the reason we also do this is to get a better feel for what it would have been like fighting literally in their shoes. So for example, all the shoes that we're wearing today, they are recreations of historical shoes, historical finds, meaning there's also no tread on these shoes. These are smooth leather bottom shoes. And because of that, you might see the way that we have to use our footwork is a little different from what you'd see with Olympic fencing. You know, a lot of times you think the Olympic fencing, a lot of those long lunges, that's not safe in shoes like these. And it's something we even see depicted in the manuscripts where the way that they do their footwork, we have to kind of translate that for ourselves to understand why it looks the way it does. And when you step into the shoes of the people at the time, it just makes a whole lot more sense when you feel it.
Yep. I have to be very cautious in these shoes. I do not want to tear my ACL because, truth be told, as I could tear my ACL today, so could they. They also had ACLs back then. So with that, Daniel and I are going to show you some of the technique of sword and buckler. Now, I want to make something very clear. We did not script this. Daniel and I have been training together for years. We do not know how these fights are going to go. So there's a very important rule you all need to know about. And what that is if Daniel and I both throw a cut at each other and hit each other at the same time, this is what we would call a double. I don't want a double. I want to walk away from this fight unharmed. Because even if I hit his head and he takes like a nice cut, I don't want to be able to tell all my friends at the bar that I won the fight today and then die in the infirmary tomorrow. Hit your opponent without getting hit. The art of self-defense, the art of swordsmanship. Now there's another concept to that. If Daniel hits me, and in time I can hit him, also an injury we don't want to take. Now, we're going to summarize doubles and afterblows for you today. If you see us double or afterblow, you will know that we are two dead idiots. We only want one dead idiot in a sword fight, and I do not want it to be me. So if we double for you, because we don't know how this is going to go, you are freely allowed to call us two dead idiots. Now with that, Daniel, are you ready to go?
Let's do it, sir.
All right. To the pain, sir.
Let's do it. Nicely done.
Daniel, what happened?
So, I misread Donnie's position. Donnie retreated into a position, and I thought I had more time than I did to get closer to him. And what I did is, instead of moving my buckler to protect my hand, I moved in, and he said, "Those are tasty fingers, those are mine, no refunds."
And on top of that, sword fighting is not a linear thing. Now, we look at Olympic fencing today, and I'm not going to throw any shade. Olympic fencing is fantastic. It still teaches some very good foundational swordsmanship. But it fights in an alley. It fights in a line. We are not. As he came in, I could change the center line by just stepping away, creating an opening to strike. Again, using map, using angles to try to attack my opponent. You ready for the next exchange, sir?
Do it.
Daniel, what happened?
I lied.
You are a dirty liar, sir, and my arm pays for it.
So a sword fight is a conversation between two liars. I don't want him to know what he should do. And so what happened there is I pressed the center line and allowed him to press. And we talked about those angles. If we both do something now, we will miss. And so what I did is I used the pressure that he pressed on my sword to go around and strike his arm. Once again, all it takes is strike to these extended targets. And if you cannot win a sword fight, if you do not have a hand with which to sword fight itself.
He changed the angle on me. I tried to push through, he used my strength against me, and struck my arm. Well done, sir.
Nicely done.
Daniel, what happened?
That was my favorite head. I need that to sword fight as well. So there, Donnie dictated the pace of the fight. He forced me on the retreat. I did not feel comfortable. And so it is much easier to fight forward than it is backwards. And so as I'm on the retreat, he was able to get close enough to me to not just hit my hands, but get over my guard and strike my head.
While I recognize Daniel is taller than me, I will bet my life that he is worse at walking backwards than I am at forwards, and I will use that to my advantage. Footwork is a huge part of swordsmanship, and we saw that there. Controlling the steps, making sure I don't overextend, and making it so he can hit my own arm or something like that. Controlling the whole action along the way. That is a bummer. As I moved closer, Daniel found an angle and planted the sword right into my palm.
That's not how you catch a sword, Donnie.
That is not how you catch a sword. One more, Daniel.
One more for the good people. Let's do it.
All right.
Well, actually, hang on. We should ask them, right?
Well, should we care what they think?
Let's do it.
Okay, you're right, you're right. Would you guys like to see one more?
Yeah.
All right. Oh, Daniel.
Well,
Daniel,
that'll do it.
What happened there?
So I brought my guard low, here. And Donnie saw the straight line that he could reach before I could defend myself. And so as I tried to get up, he was able to deliver the thrust right over the top. And I was so focused on keeping myself safe, there was nothing I could do in that instance. My main focus was self-preservation, but I put myself in an exposed position because I did not listen to what the clerics in the manuscript teach.
Well done, Daniel. Now, truth be told, that was not our last fight. We have another show for you to continue. But with that, Ash and I will now suit up while Daniel entertains you with song and dance.
Let's give Daniel a hand. You know what?
So while they get suited up, they're going to demonstrate a different type of sword. So what you saw here was the use of a single-handed sword and buckler. What they're going to do now is they're going to get a two-handed sword out. No shield protection. And in this case, the sword is both your offense and your defense. And so what you're going to see is some of the same mindsets, the same things that they taught, but you're also going to see things that are different. So while they're finishing suiting up, are there any questions? Does anybody have any questions, thoughts, concerns, commentary? If not, we'll assume we did an okay job explaining, but I am open to anything. And they're ready. Well, would y'all like to see some more sword fighting then? All right.
Alrighty, Ash, are you ready to go? Let's do it. Oh, Ash, what did we do?
We both died.
We both died. Now, I hit Ash in the head, and that's pretty cool. Ash hit me pretty solid on the elbow, and that's less cool. That would be what we would call two dead idiots.
Thank you.
Ash, we doubled again.
Let's not do that.
Let's not do that again. Again. The challenge being we have one offense and defensive weapon. We have to read each other. I assumed by stepping offline I could cover an attack in a way that Ash could not strike me.
But I thought to do the same, stepping off and
Striking.
also hitting.
They are not scripted. We try our best. Ready? Now Ash hit my hand way before I hit. And this is something we have to deal with when it comes to tempo and striking. There are tournaments in HEMA, there are all sorts of things. While I was in motion, I went to strike. However, Ash took my hand. We could probably have a pretty good discussion on I would not have continued that cut. So Ash, the point is yours.
Finally.
As I keep hooking my own helmet with my buckler hook.
Yes.
You ready?
Yep. Yep.
Now, Ash, what happened there?
You closed in a lot faster than I thought you would. I actually came back, but it exposed my arm, and you hit me.
I lied to her. I opened with a thrust, and as she pushed the thrust offline, doing a similar technique to what Daniel did to me, I used that momentum to cut around and strike. Well done.
Fighting with a bunch of liars here.
You ready?
Yep.
Ash, we hit each other again.
Oh, Donnie.
As Ash went low, she went a little too low, taking my shins. That set her up to a position where she wanted to cut my leg and cover high. But because I stepped into it, my leg took the brunt of it, and she couldn't bring her guard back up. You ready, Ash?
Sorry, leg.
That's okay. Soccer destroyed those nerves a long time ago. There you go. Ash, how'd you land that hit?
A lot of binding, Donnie.
A lot of binding. And as I brought my arms up, she defended against the attack and covered her hands while striking mine. I don't care what your opinion is. Would you guys like to see one more exchange? Yeah. Alrighty.
There's a hand, Donnie. I think we need to acknowledge it.
I'm miserable right now.
Yeah, it's not.
This clothes is designed for Europe, and we are in the latitude of Libya right now. Whew. One more for the show.
One more for the people.
All right. Well, Ash, that doesn't look very good.
It doesn't.
And note, I positioned my crossguard in a way to lock her sword to keep myself safe. We're a little tangled up. Using the sword and the knife to my advantage. Well done.
Thank you.
Now,
Give it up
Ash.
for Ash, y'all. Give it up for Ash.
Well done, Ash. Now, Ash, what was this?
Oh, as I like to say, this is just a little slice of history. Don't you boo me? It was funny, right? He's laughing. I win.
As Ash said, this is one slice of history with some examples of weapons in a specific context of fighting. We have manuscripts that are written for play fighting. In those cases, they don't target the hand and they don't thrust, because if you hurt your friend's hand and they can't work the next day, or you thrust them and it's hard enough to recover from those, you don't have another friend to train with. So the context of friendly fighting changes the fight. If we add more armor to what we're doing, suddenly those body shots and those arm shots we deliver might not be effective anymore. The technique changes based on the context we are. Now, what we do have down here is what we call our petting zoo. And as an example of a ton of these different manuscripts, we also have trainer swords that are designed to feel like real swords while still being safe to use. And we invite you to come feel history, see what it was like, flip through the manuscripts. And with that, I'm Donnie.
I'm Daniel.
I'm Ash.
And we're the Appalachian Sword Show. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
all so much.